everybody. Welcome to another edition of Teen Book Babble, where the teen department at the Fountaindale Library talks about our most recent reads and shares them all with you on YouTube. So first up, I'm going to review These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. It's a good series. There's only 2 books in the series so far, so really not bad. They're very easy reads, I must say. Like, they're not super long, but just the pacing of the story is really good. It makes you engrossed immediately. The characters are very relatable. I gotta say, like, I loved this so much because it had so much just naturally inclusive representation. Like, it naturally included LGBTQIA plus characters. It's the main character is a lesbian witch named Hannah, which awesome. Like, queer witches I'm all about. I'm so here for it. Like, it's really good. So it immediately starts you off with a little bit of like her relationship drama. She just broke up with her girlfriend Veronica, who was, it just wasn't working out with them. There's a lot of drama with that. But this book is like technically the first in the series, but there is a prequel that tells a little bit more about Hannah and Veronica's relationship. But it really isn't necessary to read it. You can absolutely start with this one. We do carry this one and the sequel on our shelves under YA Fix Sterling. Like I said, it's, about this natural witch is what I think the term that they use in the book, named Hannah. And she is a elemental witch, which means she has control over earth, air, fire, and water. She can manipulate these elements. And again, like something I really enjoyed that the author did, she managed to make this nice little real world setting where she made a clear difference between natural witches, her elemental or whatever types of witches, because there's different kinds, not just elemental. But she made a clear line between the fantasy type of witch and still gave a nod to paganism and Wicca as a whole, which I appreciated so much. Like, kudos to authors that do that, because there's a lot of authors who just don't make that clear-cut line and they kind of mash up like fantasy and like actual witches together, which I'm not always a fan of. She gave like really nice, like a respectful glance and said that, Wicca and paganism is its own thing and people that are involved in that are just doing their own thing, and that's totally cool. But elemental witches and her types of natural witches or whatever are different, which again, like I really kind of appreciated that. And like I said, like, not only is the main character, a lesbian witch, but there's also just other characters in there. They have trans representation, people of color, and it was really nice just to see it. And it's not like vigorously pointed out. It was so natural. Everyone was doing their own thing in this world, and I really, really enjoyed that a lot. Not only that, but like this book has a little bit of everything. It has action, it has romance. Like, Hannah meets a cute girl, during everything that's going on, because there is also a murder mystery going on. Who doesn't like that? But it can, some parts get just a little bit gory, so if you're not into that, but it's very brief. It's like literally in one paragraph, maybe 2 tops, where she just describes like, how like somebody gets murdered, and that happens very early on in the book, so it's not really a spoiler. But the whole point is, Hannah is forced to team up with her ex Veronica to figure out, who is like murdering people and things like that. And it's just about them trying to figure out like what they're doing. And the whole time they have to make sure that no one else finds out, that they are natural witches, that they have powers. They call them regs. Normal humans are called regs. And if you let a reg see that you have powers, or if anyone catches you, your magic can be completely stripped from you. And Hannah and Veronica are in this entire big coven. So they have elders and leaders that sort of run the show, and manage all of the witches and all that. So there's lots of different dynamics. They have like a political landscape within their own coven, which is kind of interesting to see. And then you have like Hannah's normal human world intermingling with her like elemental witch world, and so that's kind of fun too. And then you get to solve like the murder mystery as well. So yeah, so that's These Witches Don't Burn. So again, this is the first book in the series. There is a second one. It's the sequel is called This Coven Won't Break. I also enjoyed that one a lot too. I will say that the author, I think this is just her style, but she does tend to speed up. It feels like the ending is jam-packed, full of tons of action that seems like it's all kind of crammed in at the last minute a little bit. But I genuinely think that's kind of her style, and she just wants you to get that like last hard hit of information and like action-packed moments kind of at the end. So you're just left like, "Oh my god, what just happened?" But again, like I really enjoyed this book. I was so here for all of the representation. I loved the plot. It was great. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and go feel free to check it out. These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling.
Welcome back to Book Babble. My name is Kelsey, and today I'm super excited to talk to you about Beast Player by Naoko Uehashi. So Beast Player is a high fantasy set in a sort of feudal Japan-inspired setting. The kingdom is ruled by the Yoja, who's a sort of spiritual empress, but in order to maintain their line's sort of spiritual purity, the Yoja cannot raise troops or engage in war. So they have a general duke called the Aluhan, who is in charge of the troops. And the Aluhan's troops are not just regular warriors, they are called Toda riders. And the Toda are these like giant amphibious sea serpent, like sea monster creatures. And our main character, Elin's mother, is a beast doctor and tender of the Toda. And now when the Aluhan's prized Toda, the Kiba, are found dead, Elin's mother is accused of poisoning them and sentenced to death. When Elin tries to rescue her, her mother uses a secret forbidden technique from outside of the kingdom in order to rescue her daughter, which sort of sends Elin down this very different path of discovery. Elin wants to be a beast doctor herself, even though it cost her mother her life. But instead of working with the Toda, Elin decides to work with royal beasts, which are not part of the Aluhan's domain, but part of the Yojas. And the royal beasts are described as sort of giant and wolf-like, but with great big wings. And Elin has seen them in the wild and uses what she's seen in the wild to sort of influence how she cares for the royal beasts when she's learning about them in school. And she ends up forming a bond with this injured cub called Leland. And by using what she's learned in the wild and combining them with a couple of her other skills, she devises a way to actually communicate with Leland. And she's doing this, all for these animals' own good, because she cares about them, because she wants to form these bonds. However, the royal beasts are some of the few creatures that are able to defeat a Toda in battle and rip through their iron scales. And when it looks like the Aluhan may be planning to rebel against the Yoja, all of a sudden, Elin is sort of dragged into this political intrigue that she had never intended to be part of. It is a wonderful series with a lot of heart and also a lot of cleverness on Elin's point of view. And I just love how like seamlessly they interweave the emotional and intellectual aspects of caring for animals. One of the things that's really cool about this book too, right before I started reading it, I actually talked with a family member who works with rescue animals. And some of the techniques that Elin develops by observing the royal beasts and sort of mimicking how a mother feeds the beasts in the wild are actually techniques that are really used by animal rescuers today. So the author definitely knows her stuff. It is an absolutely wonderful, heartwarming read, and you can check it out here in the library. You can come and get this copy right here.
Okay, today I'm going to be talking about the book Alatsaway by Darcy Little Badger. Darcy Little Badger is an enrolled member of the Lipan Apache tribe of Texas. This book is kind of a combination of a couple of different genres. It's mystery, fantasy, a little bit of an adventure. It was published in 2020, and let me tell you a little bit about it. So in Alatsaway, Ellie lives in a world much like our own, except in Ellie's world has been shaped by magic and mysterious legends and creatures. Ellie herself can raise the ghost of dead animals. This is a skill that has been passed down through her Lipan Apache ancestors. So one night, as she is playing with her ghost dog, Kirby, he starts acting strange, very anxious and scared. The last time he acted like this was when Ellie's grandfather passed. So now Ellie is scared that something has happened to one of her family. She eventually finds out that her cousin Trevor has been in an accident and he is not expected to live. So that night, Trevor comes to Ellie in a dream asking for a favor. He explains that he has been murdered by a man named Abe Allerton from Willoughby, and he wants Ellie to make sure that Abe doesn't hurt his family. So after Ellie wakes up, she is told that her cousin is gone, that he has passed. So Ellie is determined to protect her cousin's young son Gregory and his wife Lenore from Abe. She also wants to bring Abe Allerton to justice, but the police and everyone in an official capacity believes that Trevor was killed in an accident. So Ellie is determined to prove that Trevor was murdered by Abe Allerton. So she, along with her best friend Jay, his sister Ronnie, and her family members start investigating Trevor's murder. But as she digs more and more into Abe Allerton and the town of Willoughby, she realizes that all is not as it seems, that Abe and Willoughby and all of its residents harbor dark secrets that put both Ellie and everyone she loves in danger. So I really liked this one. It had all of the things that I really like, a combination of fantasy and magic. I loved that in Ellie's world that magic was commonplace. Her best friend Jay is descended from the Fae Lord Oberon, and he has the capability of, creating a ball of light that helps light the way. People can travel not just by car, but they can travel by fairy rings. Ronnie, Jay's sister, is engaged to a vampire, and vampires are just citizens in America, in Ellie's America. So I loved the combination of all of the magical creatures, as well as the legends and stories of Ellie's ancestor. The author weaves in different stories from the past, especially from Ellie's sixth great, which is her sixth great grandmother, who, much like Ellie herself, could raise the ghosts of animals. She traveled around the land fighting monsters and saving people, so Ellie is sort of carrying on in her tradition. The other part that I kind of liked about this is that there was no romance for the main character. Ellie is described as asexual, so no romance involved. Like, Jay is her best friend. Kirby is her dog companion, and so it just really focuses on the friendships and family in this book. The other thing that I loved about Alatsaway is the ghost dogs, and there's even and the ghost animals. So there's even one of Ellie's relatives is able to call up a mammoth. So Ellie also herself has a trilobite fossil, so she can also call up the ghost of the trilobite. So I really loved all of those stories and how these ghost animals are really, just as in life, they're companions to Ellie and her family, even in death. So I would highly recommend Alatsaway. I listened to it on Hoopla. It's available as an e-audiobook on Hoopla and Cloud Library. Obviously, we also have the book in print here, but it's available as an ebook on Libby, Cloud Library, and Hoopla, so you have plenty of opportunities to check the book out. Want more recommendations? You can visit our website at fountaindale.org/teenreads to view book lists curated just for you. We'll see you next time.